Well, hey there team, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Worth It Then Worth It Now, a little side project that I run on this channel where we have a look at games from yesteryear. They're not contemporary, but they deserve a bit of a shout out, and I tend to line this up with a sale as well. So today we're looking at Battlefield 3, which I picked up for a cool $2.50. Everything in EA's catalogue seems to be on super deep sale, which obviously includes their Battlefield games. So not just this one going cheap, they're all going cheap, and I think I'm going to pick them all up. I don't know if I'll do a video on all of them, but here's one that I haven't looked at in forever, right? Not since launch, and it's like nearly 15 years. It's telling me 2011. That might just be the Steam release. I can't be 100% sure when Battlefield 3 originally came out, but my goodness, it's almost depressing how incredibly good this campaign is straight off the bat. And this was considered relatively weak at the time. I still remember that, you know, this was in the midst of all the big bombastic COD campaigns, and Battlefield was kind of second fiddle. Battlefield 3 especially was held in very high regard for its multiplayer, you know, and the destruction and all that, and to this day it's still well remembered. But I think it was just different times. We were absolutely spoilt for choice, and that kind of boggles my mind, because going back to this morning just for some B-roll, I only, you know, played for like an hour or something, and from the intro on the sort of flash forward trying to stop a terrorist train, and then you've got your cutscenes with questioning, and then got some interesting, a bit too close to modern day Iran or Iraq border crossing PLR terrorism stuff going on. Oh, it's so wild, and it's probably a great time to check this game out. Oh, and you can't even forget this bloody aeroplane dogfight. It looks like $1 million taking off from sea on the back of a aircraft carrier, and you know, fighting, and a lot of that's fairly on rails, but it's still thrilling. That might be one of the more eye-opening things that I took away from this whole little experience of mine, because I'm incredibly critical of walking sims. Now, that's the rule, but there are exceptions to the rule. But generally speaking, for those not across it, walking sim has now been embraced as an actual term that people unironically call their games, which is hilarious because it's an insult. If I call your game a walking sim, that's me spitting on it. That's me pointing out that it has no redeeming gameplay features on its own, and it's simulating walking. I can't believe people don't really get that. And as a rule, there are a lot of games that cut corners on their gameplay loop because they're trying to be a vehicle for a story or whatever. And funnily enough, the story is usually pretty bad as well, given that the dev team can't even make a good gameplay loop. But there are exceptions where the experience is exceptional and the gameplay loop in that section is light. And that's tragedy that it's not the other way around. So in a way, this aeroplane section is kind of a walking sim. You're in the back seat firing off rockets and miniguns and dropping flares, so there's still stuff for you to do, but you're not actually flying the jet per se. Yeah, I reckon you could turn the industry upside down. If this was the standard for what a walking sim was, the interaction, ramping up the cinematic quality and the immersion and having a light loop, well, all of a sudden it wouldn't be a bad word anymore. But even like the sort of bulk of my time was with the main first mission. You're going in, you've lost a squad of Marines. All of this is tied through a cinematic flashback thing with actually pretty cool, like, not quite mocap, but these, you know, canned cinematic exchanges, this interrogation. You know, it is all very US political thriller, which I kind of love that sort of shit, to be honest, but it's told, you know, well enough, and it keeps a pretty snappy pace, and I'm keeping up with it. But yeah, moving along with your little fire team and watching them do their clearances and door breaches, and you're essentially the fifth man in the 5-man squad. You wait for everyone to do their little animation and go through. But it's just really impressive. It feels like a game out of time. It kind of is. But if this did in fact release in current year, it would actually stand apart and above a lot of what the standard is now. And that is an absolute travesty. That kills me, man. Like, you can have a look at some of the fidelity of the graphics. You're moving through markets and all that, and it's a bit bland, a bit muddy on the textures, repeated stuff, but that's only if you're looking for it with a scrutinizing eye. The dynamism of the environment was there kind of before this stuff happened. This isn't even to mention you know, the modeling, the physics engine that they made a big deal about, and all bits falling apart and earthquakes, and, you know, they get the most mileage out of that they possibly can. But, you know, the effects of wind and background stuff and all that sort of thing, like they did some seriously heavy lifting with the art and direction, which is lost in a lot of modern titles. It really hurts my soul. Like, in one hand, I've got this big old shit-eating grin, and I'm thinking about doing a full playthrough because I just bought it for $2 on Steam, and it's better than most of the crap that comes across my desk. But at the same time, you know, it is kind of proof positive that, yes, don't get me wrong, there are some great games coming out this year. Absolutely. But you know, almost to go full circle to exceptions and rules, the rule is that something this good is rare. And it kills me. It really does make me realize that we did peak in gaming at a certain time in our past. You could probably try really hard to figure out which year it was, but the AAA extravaganza has been on the downslope for a while now. And yet, we'll get some exceptions to the rules, but the rule was 15 years ago, we got bangers. And again, as I said earlier, the idea was, I still remember it very vividly in my mind, that this campaign was compared to what was going at the time during, you know, when it released, between those years, between CODs and all that. This was an okay attempt at what COD was already doing perfectly. And I haven't talked about multiplayer at all. It's not that I'm not interested, but the point of this video was, look, you can get an exceptionally good campaign for $2. Like, why wouldn't you? EA seems to have this launcher thing that messes you around. I did cover Battlefield Hardline a little while ago recently. I don't know if I even mentioned it then, but it launches into a web page for some reason, but it seems to be what EA's doing. And then if you launch from the web page, it launches in Steam, and it's dumb. I don't know why they're doing it, but whatever, right? But I have no idea what the multiplayer scene is. So you can roll the dice and pick it up for $1 or $2 and see if there are some servers or community something going on. I wouldn't be surprised if there's something, but this is purely through the lens of a single player experience and a single player pitch, as it were. So look, this is again a bit of a nostalgia-ish kind of video segment going back. I haven't touched this since it released at the time, and I feel myself going, oh my god, maybe I do just go hard in the paint for the next couple of days. But I'm supposed to be playing Death Stranding for review, for crying out loud, and here I am thinking about playing the Battlefield 3 campaign because it's just so good. So yeah, look, that's my advice, right? If maybe you're a bit jaded with modern things, I mean, who isn't? If maybe you slept on this at the time because it was more of a multiplayer sell than a single player one, that's how I remember it. I actually did play a chunk of Battlefield 3 multiplayer, even though I'm not a huge multiplayer guy. I've had my moments in my history, but at the time this was very much multiplayer and an okay single player campaign. And I'm telling you now, the tides have changed and the way time has moved past us. This is something that if you slept on, you should absolutely drop the couple of dollars to go back and play this campaign. It holds up incredibly well. The soundtrack, the action sequences. I mean, I didn't even mention this whole trying to outwit a sniper on a rooftop and he's like plinking away at you and taking out chunks of concrete, and it's just really good. It really does capture that cinematic video game feel that I feel has kind of fallen by the wayside, tragically. Anyway, no need to gush, no need to waffle. Team, might just leave it there for the time being, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.